The New World Order, Bishop Grady, letting y'all know what the fuck going on for this BFN Report, man. Make sure you sign my petition. Get Donald Trump off Twitter. Find the change.org link in my Instagram bio, GradyGrant716, or in the video description if you're watching on YouTube. Now, police have identified 36-year-old Seth Adder. You know he's a white dude, but basically they identified him as the shooter in Odessa, Texas this past Saturday that ended up taking the lives of 7 people and injuring 22 others. Apparently, he was fired from his job, but hours later, after being fired from the trucking job, he's pulled over by police for failure to use a turn signal. It takes an AR-15 style rifle, lets off at the cops, then goes off on a speed chase. On some GTA shit, he's out here shooting random residents and motorists, and ends up even ditching his car to get a postal truck. So eventually he dies from a shootout with cops outside of a movie theater in Odessa. But one woman told CNN that she actually called the cops on him just last month for threatening her with a rifle, but they didn't go to his house because they couldn't find his house on the GPS. This is less than a month after the El Paso, Texas shooting outside of that Walmart that took 22 lives, and less than a day after this, they actually weakened firearm regulations in Texas that make it easier to have weapons on school zones and places of worship, and then disaster zones. Greenville and graduation, man. Greg Abbott, you the governor, man. Your shit backwards, bro. The New World Order, Bishop Grady, letting y'all know what the fuck going on for this BFN Report, man. Make sure you sign my petition. Get Donald Trump off Twitter. Find the change.org link in my Instagram bio, GradyGrant716, or in the video description if you're watching on YouTube. Now, y'all remember back in 2015 at the Mother Emanuel AME Church in Charleston, South Carolina, when that white boy, Dylan Roof, went into that church and basically shot the motherfucker up? Lit that shit up like it's the 4th of July, ended up killing 9 people, 9 black worshipers actually, and one of them being a politician or whatever. Now for that, he actually was found guilty of 33 counts of hate crimes and sentenced to death back in 2017. But now a federal court has actually ruled that the survivors and the family members of the victims of that mass shooting actually can sue the government for their failure to conduct a proper background check. In that scenario, he actually copped a semi-auto from a licensed gun seller, but the agent that would have been responsible for the background check that would have actually brought up a drug-related infraction that he had, that would have actually barred him from that sale, didn't do that job. So we'll see how this turns out. Greenville and graduate. The New World Order, Bishop Grady, letting y'all know what the fuck going on for this BFN Report, man. Make sure you sign my petition. Get Donald Trump off Twitter. It's imperative, man. We must do this. He is a danger to us, to people abroad, to U.S. troops. I mean, it even falls into this story, but you can find the change.org link in my Instagram bio, GradyGrant716, or in the video description if you're watching on YouTube. Now, this weekend, actually, the Bahamas was devastated by deadly winds and flooding that actually killed 5 people due to Hurricane Dorian. Started off as Tropical Storm Dorian, and then it just grew. At one point, it was actually the second most powerful hurricane that ever hit the Atlantic Ocean, with winds going up to 180 miles per hour. Now, it mostly hit the Grand Bahama and Abaco Islands, but you know, Trump then, aside from him talking about he never heard of a Category 5 hurricane, even though 4 Category 5 hurricanes have taken place during his presidency. He's a fucking idiot. But also, and he also tweeted basically saying that it was going to hit Alabama, which is not true. The National Weather Service denied that, but it is expected to hit Florida, Georgia, and South Carolina. Stay tuned. Greenville and Grand. We'll do the Bishop Grady, letting y'all know what the fuck going on for this BFN Report, man. Make sure you sign my petition. Get Donald Trump off Twitter. Find the change.org link in my Instagram bio, GradyGrant716, or in the video description if you're watching this on YouTube. Now, I'm gonna break down some bullshit that don't make sense that has to do with the foreign affairs of this country and their dealings with Afghanistan. They've been reportedly doing peace talks with the Taliban, who in other contexts, especially in the Iranian one, the Taliban is viewed as the enemy, but with Afghanistan, it's okay. Meanwhile, the Taliban is claiming responsibility for all types of terrorist attacks, like the blast that went off in Kabul, Afghanistan on Monday that took the lives of at least 16 people and injured over 100 people when it went off on this a compound that's actually used by international organizations. Now, this deal with the Taliban that announced by Special U.S. Envoy to Afghanistan, Zalmay Khalilzad, actually is agreed upon that the U.S. will withdraw 5,000 troops within the next 5 months. But yeah, the New York Times is actually reporting they want to increase CIA presence out there too. But the whole thing is Afghanistan has not been included in these peace talks, especially Ashraf Ghani, the president over there. Keep in mind that this is the longest war that the U.S. has had, been there since fucking 17, 18 years. Green War grad. Although the Bishop Grady letting y'all know what the fuck going on for this BFN report. So over in the state of Assam in India, there's 2 million people that are actually at risk of being rendered stateless after the release of this National Registry of Citizens this past Saturday. Now, this registry was first created in 1951, and it lists people who are able to prove that they have been in India since March 24 of 1971, which is actually a day before neighboring Bangladesh actually declared independence from Pakistan. Now, critics of this are actually saying that they feel like they're trying to deport Muslims. If you're a foreigner, you're actually at risk of being rounded up and put in prison camps. So there just seems to be this worldwide abuse or disdain for foreigners. It's getting crazy out here, and it's being, led by the U.S. it seems like almost, but also in Europe as well. But apparently you have up to 120 days to appeal this shit, and if your name is not on the list, there's people whose parents are on the list but their children aren't, so it's getting crazy. Green War graduate. Well, though the Bishop Grady letting y'all know what the fuck going on for this BFN report. So over in China, this is in Hong Kong, 13 straight weeks of pro-democracy protests that initially started from an extradition bill introduced by Hong Kong's chief executive Carrie Lam, which basically says if you catch a case in Hong Kong, you can be extradited to China, had to deal with that system. There's supposed to be 2 different systems, even though geographically Hong Kong is inside of China, but they're 2 different systems, and they feel like it's encroaching on their autonomy, right? On top of the police brutality that's going on against the protests. Now, Chinese Xinhua State news agency actually put out an editorial on Sunday that basically said the end is coming for those planning to protest and disrupt Hong Kong and antagonize China. Clearly a ominous threat against the protesters. And then on Saturday, they were actually showing Chinese state news television was actually showing paramilitary police conducting drills and all of that in Shenzhen, which is actually at the border of Hong Kong, with the caption that read, able to strike at any time. So shit might get real, and guess what? Chinese students still got up cutting classes on Monday, basically protesting. So we'll see what happens. Carrie Lam actually had to clarify, said she was not planning to quit, even though there's a recording out there where she said she would quit if she could. Green War grad. So the Bishop Grady letting y'all know what the fuck going on for this BFN report. So over in the United Kingdom, the Prime Minister Boris Johnson, who already was seen as being in millionaire and billionaire pockets and all of that, the pockets of the wealthy or whatever, he actually has threatened rebel parliamentary members with a snap election next month. 2 weeks before they're supposed to make a decision on Brexit if they don't support him, because he basically called for the suspension of Parliament last week between mid-September and mid-October, taking away vital time for parliamentary lawmakers to actually come to a decision on how they are going to exit the European Union, or which is what Brexit is all about. Now, lawmakers are already putting in motion or planning to vote on an extension of Brexit till late January, unless they come to a deal or an agreement, or actually agree on a no-deal Brexit by October 31st. So keep in mind that Scotland has legal proceedings underway to overturn this parliamentary suspension, and there's tens of thousands of people with these stop the coup demonstrations across the United Kingdom. So stay tuned. Green War and grad. The New World Order, Bishop Grady letting y'all know what the fuck going on for this BFN report, man. Make sure you sign my petition. Get Donald Trump off Twitter. Find that change.org link in my Instagram bio, GradyGrant716. Or you can find it in the video description if you're watching this on YouTube. Now, the United Nations investigators have actually said that the United States, Britain, and France are maybe complicit in the war crimes that are committed in Yemen. Duh. So for those who don't know, the United States has been giving or doing weapons deals with Saudi Arabia, and they've been backing, therefore, these attacks that Saudi Arabia has been taking on Yemen. That's actually led to the murder of tens of thousands of people since 2015, and has caused the starvation of at least 85,000 children. A bunch of cholera outbreaks, a bunch of people at risk of starvation. It's insane over there. And keep this in mind, as a Saudi-led, US-backed Saudi-led airstrike took place on Sunday that actually leveled this prison in Damar that killed at least 100 people. Green War and graduation. The Bishop Grady letting y'all know what the fuck going on for this BFN report, man. Make sure you sign my petition to get Donald Trump off Twitter. Find the change.org link in my Instagram bio, GradyGrand716. Now, or in the video description if you're watching on YouTube. Now, over in the Middle East, so you have Israel, and right below it is Lebanon. So at the Lebanese border, they've actually been Lebanon and the Hezbollah party, which is basically like the government party sect. The Islamic sect of Lebanon, labeled a terrorist organization over here as well. They actually started exchanging fire. This is all our war, people. Now, Israel actually said that they were attacking Hezbollah after they had launched missiles at an army base that they had near the border. Hezbollah is saying that they were actually responding to drone strikes in Lebanon. And keep in mind, Israel is one of the leader makers, if not the leader, in creation of drones worldwide. Now, Syed Hassan Nasrallah, a Hezbollah leader, basically said this is a new phase of conflict between them and Israel, and that they are now going to focus on attacking drones that enter Lebanese airspace. We'll see what happens. Green War and Graduation, all out. The Bishop Grady letting y'all know what the fuck going on for this BFN report. Now, I told y'all last week about Fuerzas Armadas Revolucionarias de Colombia, out there in Colombia. These are basically the Revolutionary Armed Forces of Colombia, an organization that takes up arms, and they actually established a 50-year peace deal with the Colombian government that they say the Colombian government has been violating clearly, and they're going to take up arms again. And then right-wing president of Colombia, Ivan Duque, actually said that, basically anybody who takes up arms is going to be, a target. So Duque actually announced on Friday that 9 FARC rebel members were actually killed in a bombing raid. So that's serious business right there. Keep that in mind, though, as I tell you that in the town of Suarez, a mayoral candidate, Karina Garcia, this is in the Cauca region, she was actually killed along with like 4 other people during her campaign on Sunday. And this is after being threatened by like armed men to back down, but she never backed down. So clearly somebody is trying to hold on to power. Green War and Graduation. Well, though, the Bishop Grady letting y'all know what the fuck going on for this BFN report, man. Make sure y'all sign my petition. Get Donald Trump off Twitter. Find the change.org link in my Instagram bio, GradyGrand716, or in the video description if you're watching this on YouTube. Now, off the coast of Santa Cruz, California, there was actually a commercial diving boat that caught fire in the early hours of Monday morning, and there were 5 crew members that were actually able to escape. But the U.S. Coast Guard had to recover 25 bodies, and there's still 9 bodies that are feared to be, 9 people feared to be missing. So that's at least 25 feared to be dead. They haven't determined the cause of the fire yet, so it's unfortunate, man. Green War and Graduation. The New World Order, Bishop Grady letting y'all know what the fuck going on for this BFN report, man. Make sure y'all sign my petition. Get Donald Trump off Twitter. Find the change.org link in my Instagram bio, GradyGrand716. He continues to put us, U.S. troops, people abroad in danger, immigrants in danger, you know what I'm saying? Even though this is a country of immigrants. Also, you can find the change.org link in the video description too if you're watching this on YouTube. Now, remember I told y'all less than a couple weeks ago actually about the story of Ismail Ajawi, who was basically a 17-year-old Palestinian student that was here on the Ahmed East educational grant scholarship, coming from essentially from Lebanon. He's Palestinian, but he was stopped at Boston's Logan Airport and turned around and sent back to Lebanon after immigration police had interrogated him about his whereabouts and about social media posts from his friends that were about religion and about critical of U.S. policy. So, but it turns out that this kid is actually allowed to come in and enter his first year at Harvard and actually go on about his regular business as a college student. So, that's what happens. And I guess the immigration system kind of worked. Green War and Grad.